Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is It Could Hurt to Hold On, It Could Hurt to Let Go. And the reason why I want to discuss this today is often we hear expressions such as holding on causes us the pain and letting go sets us free. And although ultimately that is how things work out, there are times that we hold on because we're not ready to let go. And honestly, if we let go too soon, it might not be right for us. So even though the holding on is painful, there are situations in our lives that we're not done with. We're not ready to give up a relationship, regardless of what everyone around us says. We're not ready to stop trying to build a business. We're not ready to let go of the experience that we're holding on to, even if it causes us pain and stress and anxiety. And then when we let go, yes, it will eventually lead to our freedom in so many ways. But the other side of letting go can also be painful. It is very painful, even when you say, I accept that this person left me. I accept that my business is gone. There's this sudden emptiness within us that creates a different kind of pain. And sometimes it actually hurts more than the holding on pain, but it's part of the letting go process. When my husband left, for a long time, we shared money. He was dating and it was very painful, but I was holding on. I was holding on because I was in so much pain that he left. And I couldn't quite get my footing. I couldn't get my bearings as to how I was going to live. And honestly, I did not have the strength in me at that moment to start arguing about assets and advocating for myself. So we kept sharing money. He wasn't happy about it, but I didn't know any other way to be. And one day he wrote me this note that we needed to invest more in a company that we had a private investment in. And I quickly responded, I don't want to invest in that. And he wrote me back a text. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get a divorce. I want to split the assets. I'm not doing this. And it went on and on and on. And I remember that moment. And it was like that moment where you're at the tipping point of holding on is too painful. And letting go is so scary. And I was sitting there at that point because I could have gone either way. I could have just invested in the company and ignored the rest of his texts and pushed it off. But it was so painful to hear he didn't care. It was so painful to feel attacked. It was so painful that he had moved on so easily. And it was so scary to let go. But in that moment, the holding on was too painful. And I chose the letting go. A new type of pain, but a pain that I knew had the potential for freedom, had a potential for a new beginning, had a potential to move into the life that was calling me. And I said, okay, let's move forward. I had no idea how things were going to work out. I had no idea how I was going to afford my apartment. I had no idea what my life would look like. But I knew that I couldn't hold the pain anymore. And I had to believe in the unknown, and I knew uncertainty was my best friend. But when I entered the process of letting go, I was still in pain. It was just a different type of pain. Instead of holding on to something old, something full, something that I knew but wasn't working, now I had the pain of the process of letting go, figuring out how we were going to split the assets, figuring out how I was going to live. And at the same time, there was this empty plate where I was going to have to fill. So I'm bringing this up today because holding on is painful, but the process of letting go could be painful too. And I just want to recognize that when you're holding on, you're not ready. Stay with that. Be honest about the pain you're holding. Be honest about where your business is at the moment. Be honest about where your relationship is. And at least say to yourself, I know this is not working out. And I know I keep trying. And look at, are you holding on because you're afraid to let go? You're afraid of that next step? Or are you holding on because you're really not ready? Because you're not done? And it's okay, because eventually you will get there. Eventually the pain of holding on will be too great, will be too big, will be too much. But I have to say it's better to choose to let go than to be forced to let go. It's just an easier process because you find a way to be ready. And when you get to the letting go, first you have to honor how you feel. You have to honor that all of a sudden you're not in that relationship, you're not in that business. There's this open, wide space with nothing in it, and you could feel very lost. But it's very important at that moment to not confuse that lostness with that you're not valuable or you're not capable. It's just the empty is the beginning of the filling up. The empty is the beginning of the healing, and the empty is the beginning of the life that you're going to create. And it's very important that you don't confuse who you are and what you're worthy of and the circumstances that surround you. And sometimes it's kind of hard because you've gotten really knocked around, but it's one of the most important things moving forward is to know you matter, that you have a right to be here, and that what you seek is seeking you. And the second thing is, of course, our relationship with uncertainty. Just because we don't know doesn't mean it's going to be bad. And it's such an important thing for us to recognize, even when we can't see the path ahead. When we know that uncertainty is our best friend, when we know when we open to uncertainty, we end up on an unlimited field where many possibilities we desire in our life exist. Are there things that we don't like? Sure, but there are also things that we do like, things that we desire, things that we hope for in our lives. And when we know this, we could take a different approach. And for me, knowing life has maybe was my saving grace. Because in the process of letting go, especially in the beginning, maybe is the word that reminds you every day that this fear thought, this negative thought, this painful thought is not the only thought in the room. It's not the only possibility out there. That even in the pain and even in the emptiness, even in the fact that I could not imagine how life would change, life had maybe. Maybe I could just get through this moment. Maybe there's something left for me to experience in this life, in tomorrow, in the future. Maybe life will get better. Whatever the maybe statement was, it fed me. It reminded me. And the third thing that is very important is that story of regret. Because sometimes when something ends, it really wasn't our choice. Even if the pain of holding on was too great, we didn't choose the pain. We maybe didn't choose the end of the business, the end of the relationship, the end of the situation. And often what we do is we go back and say, what could I have done differently? How could I have been differently? And it's great to ask those questions if you want to learn, if you want to grow, to be different in this moment. But for some reason, we think that we can go back and change it. That's why we become so obsessed. We know we can, but we're just going over it and over it again, thinking if you did one thing, life would be better today. But all we're doing is we're not valuing the moment. We're banging our head against the wall. You cannot get to the past. And everything that's ever happened in your life has brought you to this moment. And in this moment, it is best to say, I learned my lessons, but what is possible right now? And what is possible in my future? So the past does not serve you, and the future is an open field. And then the fourth thing is you start to live more present. And sometimes that's the only place you're going to have strength in the letting go. It is so challenging to start to let go and envision the rest of your life. That will knock anybody out. But you could let go in the moment and say, what is in front of me in this moment? Oh, I have to go pick up my dry cleaning. Oh, it's time to eat lunch. And the next day, oh, maybe I'm going to think about calling my friend about a new job. The next week, maybe I'll think about doing my resume. In a month, maybe I'll think about going on a dating app. However you process it. But just stay right here. You are strongest in this moment. You are most powerful. And letting go in the moment is a lot different than letting go for a lifetime. And bit by bit, you will get there. And then eventually, letting go becomes the freedom. It becomes the freedom from the thing you were holding on that wasn't working. The thing that you were too scared of to let go to move forward with your life. And if you do the work, you find your place. You find your path. You find your passions. You find new opportunities. You find new possibilities because, again, uncertainty is your best friend and it puts you on the unlimited field. And every desire you have, every thought you have, everything in your heart, it is there because it's connecting to something outside in the universe. Will you find everything? Who knows? but at least you're on the playing field and you're more likely to create the life that you want by letting go than holding on. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you want to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe, A Year Without Men, Maybe Everything's Okay, A Parent's Guide to Less Stress and Worry, they're available at major bookstores and online retailers. If you'd like to buy my Maybe cards or my Maybe digital journal, they're available on Etsy and my Stand store. But most of all, if you like this podcast, I hope you subscribe and leave a comment.